Hey friend, let's talk ADHD. So today I want to discuss the unseen or the invisible symptoms of ADHD that are harder to recognize in others, but can cause a lot of problems and emotional turmoil in the people that are experiencing them. So the concept of the iceberg with ADHD. So above the water you can see fidgeting, having trouble focusing, getting distracted, and then below the surface of the water there are tons more symptoms going on that from the outside are not very easy to perceive. So those are the ones I want to discuss because there's tons, and so I'm going to go over some of the major ones. Regulating internal communication. So an ADHDer's mind is missing that sort of filtration and regulation in the brain, and so all of these messages are not being filtered out and processed in the most efficient way, and so that can be very overwhelming. One example of this is becoming overwhelmed by bright lights, loud noises, or changes around you. My dad cannot handle loud music or loud noises, so he just completely avoids, shows in theaters, concerts, anything like that is not for him. So it can definitely have an impact on your lifestyle and your daily life. And an aspect of this is racing thoughts. Some people refer to this as mental manifestation of restlessness. So instead of tapping your pencil and running around the room, you're experiencing that hyperactivity in your mind. Our mind can be going a mile a minute, and this is a very common symptom in adults with ADHD. It can be kind of one of the main symptoms to diagnose. Not that it has to happen in everybody though. A lot of people see this racing thoughts worsening in the evening and around bedtime, so that can affect your sleep. If you've ever experienced that where your mind's racing at night and thinking of all the different tasks you need to get done the next day or future responsibilities that you're going to need to address, jumping from one thought to the next and catastrophizing and spiraling out of control kind of in your thoughts. One cause for this can be ADHD paralysis, when you're kind of stuck and your brain is not allowing you to move forward and get things done. So you're just stuck in this mindset of thinking of what you need to do and feeling bad that you're not doing it. You'll see a lot of emotional dysregulation and, feeling those highs and lows up and down. And so sometimes you can get misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder or something like that. ADHDers often feel everything very deeply, and those intense emotions can cause problems and really, affect your day-to-day. Something sets you off and you're really upset. As much as we try to keep an even stability in our minds, with ADHD it's very hard, and so when things are happening, it can really affect how you're feeling and your mood. We can't turn down the volume on our emotions. So when these feelings come up, they are really loud and hard to ignore, and they can be pretty intense. And this really ties into rejection sensitivity, a condition that's very common in ADHD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or RSD. These emotions associated with rejection can be much more intense without the emotional regulation, and can be overwhelming and difficult to handle and manage and process through. So it's common to get stuck and have a hard time working through that onto the next thing when we don't know how to process it. And this doesn't just apply to actual rejection, but to perceived rejection, where you feel like someone's slighting you and they don't mean to. For example, someone greets you at work, but not in their usual warm, bubbly self. They may have had a bad morning and are having a hard day, but an ADHD will often assume that they're mad at them and that it has something to do with them. They internalize it. Or when they hear, "You can come if you want," instead of, "We would like you to come with us." There's a key difference between those two. Even though it's basically the same message for an ADHDer, it's very different. One is not as clear and more vague, and the other one is specific and positive and welcoming, much of a clearer message for someone. And when that rejection comes in, or the perception of rejection, they can experience this overwhelming emotional pain. And that might explain why I kept to myself so much growing up in school. If you don't put yourself out there, you can't get rejected. In kids, this response to rejection can be, angry outbursts, tears. Other people, kind of more like me, will retreat inward and shut down and appear to be falling into like a deep depression suddenly. And because of this rejection sensitivity We can be easily embarrassed, feel really self-conscious about ourselves and our perception, and often be people pleasers because we're avoiding the disapproval or any criticism from somebody. So another way to work around this too is to develop perfectionism, which you can probably relate to. The problem with that is then it leads to so much intense anxiety, not putting yourself first and really taking care of your own needs. I've seen that so much in one of my sisters in particular. And in high school, she had full-on breakdown panic attacks. And I think it was from taking on too much and trying to say yes to everything and please everybody, and not taking care of her own needs first. Another sad symptom of this that ties into the RSD is low self-esteem. ADHDers in general tend to have a lower self-esteem. Going undiagnosed can often exacerbate that because you're not understanding why you are the way you are and not getting the help that you need. And I think a big part of the low self-esteem, ADHD can appear to others as a character flaw or a moral failing when the outward symptoms that people see appear to be due to, the person's lack of drive or whatever it is. You didn't complete your work or show up on time, so that means you're lazy and you don't care enough about this work or this job. So this can lead to well-meaning advice or criticism that is ultimately not helpful. Telling someone with ADHD, you just need to try harder, is not helpful. It'll just make it worse because they'll feel worse about themselves when they try that and there's no result. So this rough cycle can cause self-esteem issues. And even worse, this can lead to not pursuing your goals and your dreams, not trying things for fear of failure or judgment, not having that belief in yourself, which is so important. It can lead to isolation as well as a form of protection when you're getting negative feedback from people and it hurts. All the rejection stings, and the advice they give you, you try and it doesn't work and you're like, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. People are not taking well to me. And then also not standing up for yourself and not saying no. So there's a lot going on under the surface. So if you know someone with ADHD, please try to be aware of that and be gentle. And for those of you struggling with these symptoms, know that you're not alone and that people like me care about you and see you. I just encourage you to believe in yourself and not see all of these deficiencies and all these goals that you're not meeting as moral failings on your part, because they're not. Your brain is wired a certain way and there's only so much you can do about that. So of course, seek help and try techniques that are good for your specific mindset. Try to build a toolkit, develop some skills, but don't be too hard on yourself and keep trying. Please leave any comments below if you have advice or questions. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you the next one. Bye guys.